Hello there and welcome to this course on GPT-4 Turbo with Vision course. My name is Valentine and I'll be your instructor. In this course, we're going to go through the following structure. So we will start with getting to learn about the learning outcomes for this particular workshop. After that, we'll get to learn about what is GPT-4 Turbo with Vision course. What are the most important concepts that we need to learn about this particular tool? We'll get to also learn about why we would want to use this tool, as well as when we would use it. After that, we'll go into a 15-minute session where we will go through in an in-depth way those particular concepts that we have covered in relation to GPT-4 Turbo with Vision. And this is the document that you will get to go through for about 10 to 15 minutes. That will just generally go in an in-depth way with regards to the concepts that we will have already gone through. The idea here is that you should have a theoretical appreciation of what GPT-4 Turbo or with Vision, or again in some other cases we would call it just GPT-4 with Vision, has in store for you, so that you can be able to later onwards be in a position to apply, make some sort of application of the tool itself, having in mind of now the basic theoretical understanding of the tool. After this particular reading, you'll be expected to go through this quiz. It will just help us and help you as well, just solidify your understanding of what GPT-4 with Turbo, GPT-4 Turbo with Vision entails. Once we have gone through the reading and quiz session, we will now go into a practice session where we have curated the concepts in relation to GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and we have just provided you with just content in relation to this tool that would allow you to have some good understanding and as well as some good ability to apply the tool in different concepts. So we cover different types of concepts, different concepts in relation to the actual tool, as well as provide you with examples and challenges that will help you just apply the concepts that or the skills that you have achieved by in this particular course. The idea is that once you have gone through each and every skill, maybe for maybe one of the section would be searching similarities between images. The idea is that you will be able to go through some challenges that we have provided and also verify those challenges with a solution notebook that we have provided that will just give you a good understanding of an alternative method of application, or when it comes to just working on that particular problem. So we help you get to understand this tool from not only the theoretical perspective as well as the practical perspective. Once you've done that, we've also curated a project that should give you a good idea of a real life scenario of where you can be able to apply GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and this should just help you be able to just work on different types of projects in relation to the tool. We've also provided a guiding notebook that just generally walks you step by step on how you can be able to apply the tool, as well as a project solution that provides you with a solution, an alternative solution that could work for that particular project. So that's it with regards to the expectation of this course. So let's get started. So by the end of today, you are expected to have achieved these learning outcomes. You should be able to define GPT-4 Turbo with Vision in the API. You should also be able to summarize the reasons why GPT-4 Turbo with Vision is important. You should be able to recognize the various use cases of GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and you should also be able to compare the capabilities of GPT-4 Turbo with Vision to other GPT models. You should also be able to assess the potential benefits as well as drawbacks of using GPT-4 Turbo with Vision in specific applications. So what is actually GPT-4 with Vision? So GPT-4 Turbo with Vision is also known as GPT-4 with Vision, or GPT-4V, or GPT-4 Vision Preview in the API. It's generally a type of model. It's a model that allows you to be able to accept text and image inputs and be able to get some sort of output. So it's a multi-modal language, large language model from OpenAI, and you can use it more like how you would use different types of API models that would be provided by OpenAI. So for example, there's GPT 3.5, there's even GPT-4 that allow you to provide it with input, and they would again give you a response based on the input that you have given that particular model. Now, GPT-4 Turbo with Vision allows us to be able to perform a wider range of tasks other than just what, you know, other types of GPT models by OpenAI, as well as other types outside by other providers would be able to. And GPT-4 with Vision just allows us to also give the model itself an image input and be able to get some output. So for example, if you wanted to determine what's in a particular photo, or not only that, you could also ask GPT-4 Turbo with Vision to give you maybe information in relation to a particular photo that you have, then that is what you would be able to get, as opposed to what at the moment we have at this particular time of publishing this course, where we would provide a model with just input image, and you would get generally not input image, input text, and you just get text in return. Of course, there are tools that allow you to be able to give images and give you text outputs, and those are not necessarily covered in this course. I think BARD at this particular point allows you to give it an image, ask an image, information about that image, and it can be able to give you an output. But for our focus for this particular workshop, we're focusing more on using GPT-4 with Vision, that allows you to just be able to it gives you just some response that you want with a degree of accuracy as opposed to many models. This particular model is still under development, but it's already a powerful tool that you can use to just create different types of solutions for just different types of problems. Why is this particular tool important? Why is GPT-4 Turbo with Vision important? It is able to enable the enhancement of just generally text and images. So you'd have enhanced understanding and analysis when it comes to application of the data or the image that you're working with. Possibly you wanted to have some more in-depth understanding of some image or and also some text, then this model would be able to give you that. If you also would want to generate text as well as code based on images, then you can be able to do that. Maybe you might want to even just generate code that allows you to create some sort of image again that you have. Then you could be able to use GPT-4 Turbo with Vision for that. Additionally, the model itself can also be able to provide descriptions of images, and this allows you to be able to bring in accessibility when it comes to having an audience with vision impairment. So persons who are not able to see would be in a position to be able to access now generally information that they may not necessarily be able to access easily. In terms of use cases, you could use GPT-4 Turbo with Vision for just answering questions maybe about images. You might have an image, you might want to understand maybe what's the location of that image. You could even ask it about what is, if you give it maybe an image of food, what's the recipe for that particular image, or what if you give it an image of a particular piece of maybe structure, it can tell you what that structure is. I can even give you a history about it if it's maybe a historical structure. So there's a lot of potential when it comes to GPT-4 Turbo with Vision. You could use it to perform image to code generation in tasks where you would want to recreate images, because images, you could also recreate them using code, maybe using a particular programming language. Then that is also something that you could be able to do. You could also generate text just based on images, maybe captions. You could also classify images. It could take images and you could also classify it as one particular category that you have defined if you've defined multiple categories. Additionally, you could also be able to identify whether there are certain objects within an image by simply using this particular tool. In terms of comparisons with other GPT models by OpenAI, in terms of DALL-E, there's DALL-E model that allows you to just give it some text. You could also give it, by the way, some images, and can be able to give you some output. But generally, DALL-E, you'd give it text and it can be able to give you some image that you have described. But for the same case for GPT 3.5, but GPT 3.5 as well as GPT-4 only give you text as a result. So you give it input as just generally text. It gives you just text as an output for GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. These are different models. But for GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, you're able to get you're able to give it some text as well as an image, and you're able to get the response that you want, whether it's just no, you won't get an image as an output. You just get some text, not text, some text as an output. If you want some image as an output, then you can think about DALL-E. If you want maybe even to combine GPT-4 Turbo with Vision output with maybe DALL-E for specific use case, maybe you could also you could actually end up having just generally some image output. Visual analysis, in terms of being able to describe what's happening within an image, you are much more able to get the visual analysis, like what's happening in an image with GPT-4 Turbo with Vision. For the GPT 3.5 and GPT-4, you don't have that ability to do that directly. For DALL-E, you can be able to give an image and be able to describe what you want with that image, and as an output get another image. So there's a bit of some limited ability for that. And for maybe in terms of creative generation, in terms of creating just having just creative arts, pieces of art, you could have for GPT-4 Turbo with Vision just text and code. Maybe you want to create a poem, maybe you want to create some phrase that's different, then that is something that you would end up getting with GPT-4 with Turbo. Lastly, in terms of use cases, I've already talked a bit about some use cases earlier onwards, but these are just some in-depth use cases. But these are not even in use cases, but challenges that you could get while you're applying this particular tool. So in terms of accuracy and reliability, there's always a degree that you could get some mistakes, what's not described within a particular image. And in terms of privacy and bias concerns, again, you could end up, you could end up infringing people's rights because of just the idea of using people's data when it comes to even analyzing. So it could analyze, information that's not allowed to. So, for example, if people don't want to be analyzed within an image, or things that are not supposed to be analyzed, GPT-4 Turbo with Vision will still end up being able to do that. The tool itself, it's also not well suited for tasks that could have negative consequences, maybe just identifying maybe illegal drugs or safe to eat mushrooms. So if you're thinking of an application where maybe you want to think about, you want to use the model itself to maybe analyze photos that you've taken about different plants, maybe in the bush somewhere, and you want to know maybe how can you be able to cook this particular recipe, this particular plant. Then the two may not necessarily be 100% accurate, and it may confuse whatever that it's seeing. So you also have to take note of that. There's also a potential for misuse, like any other tool or model. A model can be misused to create maybe harmful content, maybe such as fake news, as well as hate speech. Right, so I think that's just basically it in terms of just going through the theoretical aspects about GPT-4 Turbo with Vision. The next steps that we're going to do is now to go through the reading and quiz. You can take about 10 to 15 minutes to go through the resources that we've provided. These resources we normally provide it for after-work members. But if you are not an after-work member, you can always think about becoming one. We just release different resources each and every week to support your learning journey. But if you again don't want to become an after-work member, you can skip the section. You can skip this section. In the next section, we're going to go through the practice work, and we've provided a sample notebook that you can use. But again, if you become an after-work member, you get the opportunity to practice and acquire the skills that you're meant to have acquired by the end of this course in full. So you can pause the video and then we'll continue after that. So once you have gone through this reading and then gone through this quiz, you should be good to go to the next step. So this is a practice work. So open the link that we've shared with regards to the notebook. And then once you have done that, you need now to save this particular notebook so that you can be able to save changes. So go to File, then Save a Copy in Drive, and a new tab should open with a copy of this notebook that you can use for your learning journey. So just do that. Once you have done that, once you've saved a copy in Drive, click on Connect to connect this notebook to Google servers. This notebook is stored on Google Drive, and then we can get started. So the first thing that we need to do once we have been able to connect, you can see at the very top it says connecting. So to say connected once it has finished. So once it has finished connecting, the first thing that we need to do is to import the libraries that we need to use for this particular session and for being able to work with GPT-4 Turbo with Vision. And you can see it has just connected with a check. So let's go to the prerequisite section. The first thing that we need to do is to install the OpenAI library. So we can click on that. If you get this particular pop-up, just know that you haven't saved a copy in Drive. I don't want to save a copy in Drive because I don't want to make any changes. So just do that. Then once you have done that, then the next thing that we need to do is it's good to take a bit of some time, and it will have installed the OpenAI library in relation to Python. Then we can import the OpenAI class that will allow us to be able to work with the model itself. We can then get your own API key from the OpenAI website. You need to do this because in order to work with the model itself, you need to be authenticated. So if I click on this, I get to this page, it takes me to the OpenAI website, and when I get there, I should be in a position to get the API key. A requirement for this is that you need to have used, I think you need to have purchased $5 credits in order to get started. So yeah, so these are just my API keys that I've created, but you could always just create a new one and then work with that. But again, remember, you need to have purchased $5 in credits in order to be able to have access to the model that we are using. If not, you will still not be able to work with this. The key that you see here is mine. I will have changed it. You wouldn't be able to use this one. You need to do that by yourself. So and you might be required to put in some credit card or debit card also. So once you have done that, you can set your API key, and then we can start with the first concept. So the first concept will involve just being able to analyze one particular image. So we will have an image that's publicly available and be able to work with it. So let's start this section. So creating a chat completion request function. So that's the first thing that we need to do. So what we have done in this particular section is we have created a Python function that we can be able to reference later in order to make a request to the model. And how you create a function, you use the def keyword, the function name, and we have these two parameters. So whenever we are calling this function, we'll pass in our prompt, that's our text prompt, and then our image URL, the location of where our photo, the one that we want to analyze is located, and this should be publicly accessible. Can't be in Google Drive, and you can be able to access it directly. But we're also going to see another way of just being able to upload the image that you want in order to analyze it. So inside the function, we create what is called a chat completion request using the OpenAI API. So we use the client object that we had here. This is an API class, and we just created an object from that particular OpenAI class, and we have it as client. Inside clients, we get to now use the create method that will allow us to be able to again create make our request to OpenAI, and then once we have been able to so we will save that particular request inside response. Then so whenever we get a response from the model, we will save it inside response variable. So inside create, we specify a parameter model as well as another parameter messages as well as max tokens. For the model, we define that we want GPT-4 vision preview. This is the one that we want to use. It may depend, maybe in the future that will change into a different model. Then once we have done that, we can be able to set our messages parameter to have the following value, which you see here, which is an array. But inside it, we also have some sort of dictionary, and inside it we have key and value pairs. We have role. The key value here is the role is the key, and the value is user. Content as well is a key, as well as this value that you see here is what we would end up setting in terms of the content. For the content, you have two different things that you need to set. You need to set the prompt, and not only that, you also need to set the type the type of prompt that you want to set. So we want to set that to be a text as well as, and also set the prompt value, and this is what we are going to be passing to our function. And also we also set the other type of content, that's the prompt that we also, the other type of content, which is what we are going to be asking the model to also take in, which is our image URL. And we set our image URL to equal to this particular image URL value that we'll have set through our parameter. Then we specify the maximum number of tokens. So this is the maximum number of outputs that we will get in terms of tokens. Tokens could be words that we'll get, just for ensuring that we don't use so much of our tokens, because it will be billed based on those tokens. And then once we do that, once we have made this request, our request will be stored here. Our response from the model will be stored in this variable, and then we can be able to specifically target the message that we get from the model by simply having this particular line line of code. So whenever we call our model, whenever we call our function, well, in order to call our function, we are going to be writing this function, and we're going to be calling this function and then passing a prompt and an image URL. And this is evident in this particular case. So if you wanted to use an image, So we have our text prompt, what's in the following image. That's our text prompt. That's what we will pass here. And image URL, this is what we have here. If I visit this image URL, so which I'm going to visit, it should take us to an image that is publicly available. So this is our image, the one that you see here. And it has it's a swan. This is a swan, and it's in some water, you know, a place somewhere. So if I go back, that's what I am passing as an image URL, and then I can call the function. So get image analysis, the prompt, I pass that, and also image URL, and the result is what I will be able to get in terms of the generated response. Sometimes this can take a few seconds or so. So just take note of that. In order to run this, we also need to first of all run this particular function. In order to first of all need to define the function, then we run this, and this will take a few seconds, depending again on the size of the image as well as the complexity of your prompt that you have, and we should be able to get the output here. And voila, we have our output. The image shows a white swan gracefully floating on a body of water, which appears to be a lake or pond. The background is dark and wooded, and making this one stand out prominently due to its bright plumage. So you can go through that if you want. So this is just, you know, the type of image that's supported. That's a JPEG image. But again, I think you get the idea, and just noting this, this particular approach will just be helpful even in the other concepts that we're going to be learning. So that's a JPEG image. If we wanted, we could also do the same case with a PNG image. We're just going to use the same prompt, what's in the following image, the image URL. This is the image URL. If I click on this to just preview the image and see, you know, the image that we are going to be using, for this particular case, I think we are actually using the same image, which I could even just run this. Let me just run this as that continues to load. This is for PNG, and preview that. It's taking a bit of some time. So yeah, the image shows a solitary swan gliding on the surface of a dark body of water. The background is dark, possibly indicating that it's twilight or a cloudy day, which contrasts. So if I go back to the image, it's actually the same image as before, PNG image, only that PNG image usually have a higher quality, and also they have usually a bit more in terms of the size, a bit bigger. Web P image. So aside from that type of image, there's this other type of image that we can be able to also work with. If I run this as well, this is the location. It's actually the same. So if I also follow this link and see what we have on our case, it actually has opened locally. But yeah, it's still the same image, but now in this other different type of format. Non-animated GIF image. So we can also upload GIF images, and we can be able to see how that appears. So let's run this. Still using the URL. There's not much that you need to change. It's just the URL that you need to update. Yeah, so the GIF is a bit different. So let me see when we follow the link itself, what we end up getting. This is the GIF, and we are analyzing the two people here, just moving on circles and their flowers. That's what we get in the end. All right, at this point, work on the challenges, and then once you have worked on the challenges, then we will continue with the next section. Remember to verify your solution with these challenges in the solution notebook, so you can always review that. Okay, moving on. We'll close these other ones. We may not need them. Moving on, uploading an image to analyze. So assuming that you don't have your image available in a public URL, but it's usually recommended, if you read the documentation, they recommend having this. If you don't have that image, you have the images in your folder locally, you can be able to still work with them, but you need to convert them in a base 64 encoded format. So let's see how we can be able to do that. For now, we're going to create two functions. So okay, these are interchanged. So the creating the chat completion request is actually here. So yeah, so I think, but generally, assuming that we're creating the encoded function first, so this function will convert our image into a base 64 encoded format. So we create that particular function, encode image, and we give our file image path. And then it's, the function itself, inside it, we open the image file in binary mode, and then we read the actual binary content of the image file and then encode it in base 64 using the code UTF-8 as well as this particular function. And we return now the base 64 encoded image as a string. Once we return it, we actually pass that particular string into our get image analysis response function in addition to the prompt. This particular content inside this function is similar to what we had previously for get image analysis response. This is just the code that just makes a request to the model. This is not GPT-3, it's GPT-4.5. I think that is something that you'll note. GPT-4 with Turbo. So once we do that, let's run this. We need to run this. We also need to run this. And then we can now just be able to do that. So what we're going to do is to upload this image. So we need to download this image. So we can just follow this link, the link that I have shared here. You can just click on, you can drag your mouse or even copy this particular link. Then open a new tab, paste it, then press enter. It should download, it should open this image. Then you can say file, you right click on it, save image as, then you save it as whatever that you want. I will just save it as image upload. So it will download. Then you might not be able to see the screen for my operating system because I'm sharing only my window. Then once we have done that, we need to go to the file section on the left hand side. Once you have downloaded the image, then you just need to upload by clicking on upload to session storage. Then you choose the image that you want, image upload, and then you upload it. And note that when you upload it here, it will always be terminated once you have or once the session expires or once you close this tab. So you'd always need to re-upload it. So we have our image here. By the way, you can always pause the video, repeat that step if you want. If you've maybe missed a few things. Then once we do that, we can be able to now define the image location, image upload JPG, and then get the base 64 string for that image, this image path, base 64 image string. Then that's what we pass to the this function over here. And then the prompt that we had here, what's in this particular image, and then we generate our response. And when we run this, we should be able to get this, our response. This image shows a dimly lit scene of interior space that appears to be abandoned in a state of despair. The door is partially open, so which is actually what we have here. So that's just basically how we are able to upload our images. Assuming that also we wanted to do the same thing, assuming we wanted still to upload an image, but take note that the images need to be lesser than 20 megabytes. So if I wanted to upload this particular image which is greater than 20 megabytes, I would need to resize it or rescale it so that, or even just ensure that the data itself, not even data, the image itself is less than 20 megabytes. So it's going to take a bit of some time. But the idea here is that if this is an example of what happens when you try to upload download and upload an image that's greater than 20 MB, that's what you're going to see in this particular case. It's taking a bit of some time. Let me see if I can be able to save it. Yes, I think it's already saved. So if I upload it, which I'm going to upload it here, let me click on that to just upload that particular image. That is it, 20 MB, 20 MB. Okay, might take a bit of some time again, depending on how fast or slow your internet is, and it should show up here. And then we can be able to see that. So again, if just to clarify a bit, ensure that the image that you're uploading is less than 20 megabytes. It's just a restriction by OpenAI that they have with regards to that. Take note of that. I think it's taking a bit of some time to upload. As you can see here, my internet isn't that fast, but it's going to take a bit of some time. Once it finishes completely, then it should be good to go. What should I try? Let me see if I can be able to run this, maybe to refuse. Yes, so if I try to upload that image, it tells me you uploaded an image, an unsupported image. Please make sure your image is below 20 megabytes in size and is of these particular types. So yeah, so that's the error that you'd get. So ensure that you fix, you have that fixed, like ensure that the images are less than 20 megabytes. Fortunately, that's a restriction. I don't know why, but the images, once they're uploaded to OpenAI services or model, the OpenAI, once they're uploaded to those particular models, then they're deleted after, so they're not actually retained. Work on the challenges, and once that is done, we can continue. Moving on, if we want to maybe compare two images or find maybe some contrasts or something of that sort, then we can be able to do that still. But now we use a different approach when it comes to working with those particular when working with multiple images at the same time. So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be defining. So what you will get to see is that we have defined again the function that we can use to get the image analysis response. So what we will do here is that we are going to, inside our so we are going to define the messages, the parameter value of it. And then after that, we are going to append image URLs to existing user roles. So what we are going to do, so initially, let me just explain this a bit using a previous example. So here, we had this. So we had this particular image. This was just one, but we can have multiple. We can define multiple images, the images that we want to add here. Unfortunately, it's not good practice to just encode or to just hard code the locations that you have here, because if you hard code like this, you're not sure. Sometimes you're not sure how many images you're working with, and you need to have as many definitions of the image URLs as you have the number of images that you have. So in order to be able to implement an efficient process, what we do is we choose to retain messages as well as these particular key values, role, user, content, and the type over here. But here for this particular case, we would append as many, let me just call them dictionaries, as we would have the images that we have. So in our case here, as we define messages and we also define the content type for the text, but again on this other side, we also want to append also the definitions for the images that we have. So if we have, let's say, 10 image URLs, we want to add 10 image URLs to the request that we make. So first of all, we define messages parameter, then we append image URLs to the existing user role or to this particular messages. And that will just generally add in here content type. We would have type image URL, the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one. So image URLs would just be able to get the image URLs that we have, and then we can be able to include them in that particular URL. So image URL for the first one, for the second one, for the third one, etc. And then we actually set our messages parameters value as what we would have here, which this would be as a result would actually populate messages parameter, and we also set max tokens as well as define the model that we want to use and return the generated response. This is just an efficient way just performing for applying that particular operation. So if we want to analyze multiple images, so we just create a list of image URLs that we have. It could be even we could even modify this to even include us being able to upload images, but for now we're just using this for URLs to just make it a bit easier. And then we call the function itself and ask it what's in the following image, the prompt, then the image and URLs. So if we run that, we should be able to get some text output about what's in those particular images. So the images you provided capture scenic image in the autumn and vibrant warm colors. In the first image, the second image, both images invoke. So if I explore those images, so if I just click on once and follow the link, this is image 1, the second image. So this is how the first image looks, and this is how the second image looks. All right, work on the challenges and then verify your solution. Moving on, we could also search for information in an image. So we can be able to maybe modify our prompts and again pass the image that we want. So again, we are now not going to work with multiple images for this case, but we could still work with multiple images. It's only that we just for just learning purposes, we just want to work with just one particular image. So let's create our chart completion function. And then once we have done that, we can be able to maybe perform object detection. So search for information in an image, like detect and identify objects in the following image. We give the URL, so prompt and image URL. So this searching for an image is just dependent on the prompt that you give. And the principles of prompting are usually just the same. If you've gone through maybe some prompt engineering workshop or course, the idea is, there's what is called zero-shot prompting. There is few-shot prompting. So zero-shot just refers to just using the knowledge of the model to just answer a particular question, which is what we are doing here. You could also do few-shot where you are giving it examples. You could tell it maybe, you could even provide it as an example, like, you have this other image, you want to also analyze this other image. That's also another degree of just analysis that you could do. So for our case over here, we can be able to see we are able to detect and identify just different images. The image displays a cluster of berries and a leaf plant. So if I preview this image, this is how the image looks like. So the response is the image displays a cluster of berries and leaves on a plant. There are several red berries that appear to be unripe. So yeah, so that's just how you're able to apply this particular concept. Something to note: if you play around with the prompt, you might not get some certain responses that you want. I mean, if you could even ask it, and you'll note those are limitations with a model. If you could ask maybe something like, which berries, how many berries, let's say, how many berries can I use to create juice from the image displayed. It might give you just an incorrect response, or just tell you cannot be able to complete that response because the question that you ask might be a bit more vague. It might require some external information. Sometimes it could answer. So like, for example, here it has answered, the image displays a cluster of berries which looks like blackberries in terms of ripeness. Only the blackberries would be suitable for juice, as they are the only ones that appear to be fully ripe. The red berry, From this image, you can use few black ones among clusters, which would likely make a very small amount of juice as a majority of berries. So yeah, it could answer. Sometimes you could ask how many berries are ripe. So we just ask is are ripe. From our image, we can see maybe the black ones. Oh, I don't know, maybe the red ones. I'm not sure about it. But how many berries are ripe? In the image, the berries that appear are likely to be the ripe ones. Okay, it doesn't really tell us the answer, but you could also define, I want a number, I want a number, just to give it just some instructions on what to be able to do. Sometimes it may, sometimes it may not. But it's up to the prompt that you can be able to do. So it doesn't even give us a number, so it just plays around. But yeah, you could always just change your prompt to just work for your case. Define the text prompt. Okay, so this other case, we are still going to be searching for something, but in our case here, we might want to, again, still do the same thing that we wanted. Want to get the number of berries that are red. I think that it's like you can see here, I'm sorry I cannot assist you with that request for various purposes, but there are some farms where they are able to determine how many berries are suitable for maybe for particular production of whatever product that they have, using just image analysis, using just also devices that capture just images about the growth of a plant, or some of even just take photos to just identify diseases also. But I don't think this is one of those particular cases. But yeah, you could actually think about how you can be able to tailor your prompt for such kinds of purposes. In some other cases, maybe you have maybe a photo of a recipe, not a recipe, a food, and you want to get maybe some recipe. So if I follow this image, assuming that we had this photo, it takes us to imagepaxos.com. Taking a bit of some time. So this is a bread, and we wanted maybe to get a recipe for that. So we can ask it, give me the recipe for the bread in the following image. We would get so we give it a URL. It takes a bit of some time. And then it gives you the image you shared appears to feature a loaf of Stollen, which is a traditional German fruit bread usually served during Christmas. Here's the recipe, it gives you all of that. And basically, yeah, this is just an example. Again, you also have to ensure that you verify your answers. Sometimes it may not make sense, sometimes it may, but in most cases, usually get some good answers. So lastly, in terms of asking for questions, still not lastly, but there's also another section that we'll go through. So what type of wedding dress is this? And give me a few steps on how it's made. Maybe you're a tailor, you wanted to figure out, you wanted to create a product for making such kinds of products. So yeah, this is the wedding dress. You give it some prompt, and it gives you an idea of how you can be able to make that particular wedding dress. So this type of wedding dress in the image appears to be A-line dress with lace embellishments. Gives you steps. These are just some general steps. It doesn't give you the measurements per se. It just gives you just general steps. You could even verify whether it's actually a wedding dress that we would want. We could even decide to copy that on Google, wedding dress, which appears to be almost close to what we have seen. If I click on just the images, actually appears closely to almost there. Okay, that's good. All right. So I'll also note that we might get some cutoff information over here, but that means you just need to ensure that you change what you had defined in terms of max tokens, maybe to 1,000 or so, be able to run that. So that's just the information about searching. In addition, we could also do maybe some questions. Maybe you can ask questions in relation to text that's written somewhere. Maybe this is the image URL. This is the text that you have here. You're not sure how to read it. Maybe it could even be in another language, but if it's in English, then you can ask here, what's written on the card. This is powerful, especially when it comes to maybe if you want to analyze essays or something of that. So the text on the card reads as follows: every day the sun sets, but capitalize, or you can see every day the sun sets, but capital. The destination always changes, 3 dots. The destination always changes, 3 dots. Yes, so I think you get the idea from that particular bit. Lastly, translate the text found in the following photo. So if I click on this, so we have this photo. There's a lot of photos. I mean, there's a lot of text here. Yeah, so assuming that we just wanted to translate the text, but again, you could also provide it with one text to be able to just answer. And maybe if you're visiting some foreign country or something, and you could even decide to create your own application that you just take a photo and gives you some response on what's the best easy way. So the photo shows various signs in Japanese, so that's Japanese. So while it's not possible to translate every bit of text due to resolution and quality, you can provide the following details. CMAT, this is in English, likely to be the name of the store. So CMAT, where's CMAT? This is CMAT, which is see here. Then there's this okonomiyaki. Okonomiyaki. Okay. Yes, I think it's this one over here. Yeah, Japanese pancake for containing several pancakes. So I think is it here? Where is it? Okay, these signs are a bit confusing, but I think you understand what I mean. So you're able to get just different translations from that. Right, work on the challenges and then we can continue from there. Moving on, similarities between images. So assuming that you wanted to just compare just different images, how do we do it? Let's first of all, assuming we have multiple images, we are going to load now the function that takes multiple image URLs as well as the response for that. So let's run that and then identify commonalities in images. So these are the 2 images. What's similar in the following images? Let's be able to run that. So we are giving those images, 2 images, and we're asking the model this prompt. So, and we get this. We asked that, by the way, to give similarities in bullet point form. So both images are aerial, bird eye. So if I click on this, just to preview the images, that's the first image. And the second image. This is the first image, the second image. So both images are aerial or bird's eye view photographs of livestock grazing, cows in the first image and sheep in the second image. Is it so? So here is where you can be able to get some. So if you look at it closely, they're not sheep. These are actually cows. Sometimes that's where you can get inaccuracies. All of them are actually cows. So that's a use case of just being able to do that. But you could always say the second image has, cows. Images, the second image has cows. Or both images have cows. It's always something that you could always be able to explain. So sometimes it can make mistakes, so you just need to be able to spot those mistakes and also assist it in that process of analysis by providing some extra information, which is, again, when you provide it's called few shot prompting. When you provide information, you're able to be able to help the model arrive at the answer. So yeah, so if you get this analysis, both images feature groups of large animals, cattle in another All right, work on the challenges and then let's verify your solution. Then let's continue. Okay, moving on. Contrasts between images. So identifying contrasts between images. So assuming you have these 2 images and you wanted to identify maybe what's different about those two images. Actually, they are the same images, these two images. Again, we can provide just some guidance, but this is just what we can do for now. Let's just do that. But this just really depends on the prompt that you give. So you can ask about contrasts when you have that information, when you have a good prompt that asks for what you want. So yes, so yes, it still thinks we have sheep. So how the following image is different? You could still mention that both images have cattle. Again, I think it's because of the reason why it's not working really well. It's because the second image, the resolution for it, this is the first one. It's quite it's not as finely grained. It's not high quality image. So sometimes you might want to ensure that you have high quality image. And even the cattle that you see here, one might think they are cows, but they're not. They're sheep, but they're not from afar. So you can be able to see that it has been able to provide you with that answer. So again, always ensure that you verify your solutions before you are able to use that solution for some purpose. Right? Work on the challenge and then verify your solution. Now, as a way of just optimizing the way your model works in terms of processing the image. So sometimes you might want to ensure that you're using fewer resources as possible. You could be able to define what is called fidelity understanding. So the model can process the image at a high resolution or at a low resolution. So in order, maybe sometimes you might just want to ensure that the model uses low resolution, which is called low resolution, disabling the high resolution mode. You would want to set what is called the detail parameter, which we'll get to see, and you can just set it as low. So aside from the URL, you also set the detail parameter to low. This is what we are going to set and pass it as an argument to this particular function. And this will just ensure that the model will receive a low resolution 5x12 version of the image, and represent and have that particular representation in a budget format. So instead of providing all the tokens in terms of input, which is costly, you have an optimized solutions in the end. So let's run that, and we can be able to define our disable the high resolution mode as shown. So we pass it here, and we will still get an answer. So we're using the swan example, the first example that we had initially for our image. So if I were to preview this image, I think the image that we were using with the swan one, the black background, this one is the one that we're using, but we still get some good output, which could work for our use case. All right, work on the challenge, and then we'll continue. Moving on, high fidelity understanding. So sometimes, again, instead of working with just low, we could, by default, it's usually high, but we could still enable it if you want, and we can be able to just set that as high. Enable, not this is disable, but enable high resolution, and this will actually apply that value high, the value that we see high here in this particular image here detail. And that's basically it. So you can see there's a bit of some description, but yeah, but it's still almost the same. And you can also use, sometimes you might also want to use some maybe how can you be able, you might have questions about how can you be able to evaluate the performance of your model. At times you could decide to evaluate it from the human perspective, where you read through the image and you try to understand whether it actually made sense or not. Like in our case, there was one example, it thought the cattle in that image were sheep. So that's one way. But at the same time, you could also just do multiple analysis across different or similar images for different prompts, and then you might realize, like, like for example, what's in the following image, this is the first prompt that you get. If you prompt it again, then you compare those particular responses and see whether they are actually correct. And you can even just use some other Python libraries for just comparing the two types of responses. All right, so at this particular point, once we have gone through the practice work and have gone through the challenges and verified them using the solution notebook, the next thing that we need to do is to go through the project brief, which is going to help you to just apply the concepts that you have learned in a project scenario. So we have provided some project instructions as well as some code to get you started. Once you have done that, you can verify your solution with a project solution that we have provided. And that will be it. That would be it. You can now then later just go out there and be able to work with Python as well as GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and see what you can be able to make. There's a whole lot of potential, and the idea is that you should be in a good position to create transformative products that change communities, or even help you make money. Yeah, so, and that's it. This is one of the many courses that we'll be providing in the in this particular channel. If you're really interested in getting to learn more and continuing to enhance your skill sets with newer technologies, you can opt to become an Afterwork member, and you get all the resources that you need for learning. That's it. All the best in your learning journey, and see you in the next course. Bye-bye.